Okay, I think I should be live here. I'm going to wait for the test. You know what? Hang on a second. Nothing works well. Right. That's me. Oh! I. It's a funny story, right? I have had the air conditioner on for, well, that's neither here nor there. I'm trying to get the stream done correctly. Nothing going on? Well, I didn't know if anything's going on or not. Is it? 1 second. That's the movie we're going to be watching. There's nothing on there but the name. Matt. It's good? Good! Look at that. My intrepid producer who just yelled to make sure that I could hear her, because I did. In fact, I told her to. And she did it. I'm just going deaf, and of course my headphones on. I can't. The reason that there's water dripping in here is I use a giant gallon jug of water because I don't like to. I like it. But let's get going with the movie Masquerade, 2012 masterpiece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up here. I'm not going to be able to show it to you because of, copyright issues and all that good stuff. I can show you like a few seconds here and there. But to sync us up, I'm going to wait until we get to the right moment where you can see what's going on. Right now I'm looking at the produced by and co-produced by stuff. CJ Entertainment. There's going to be a picture of the castle. I mean the palace, and that's about where we'll start. And I'll show you. Right, music's cutting in. Man, I haven't seen this film in a long time, but I love it. All right, that's it, right there. That's where I am. I'll be quiet so you can read. For those of you who can't see the picture, it was a quote, which is basically going to be the plot of the film, that the king hires a double for a particular reason that you'll soon find out. I've watched this scene so many times because it's so informative to me. I mean, I realize how ignorant I am about a lot of things, Korean culture outside of films. But this dynasty, the Joseon dynasty, is incredible, particularly for its hats, if you know what I mean. You'll see. If you haven't seen the Joseon dynasty kind of film, you're in for a treat. I mean, the ceremonies, everything is just it's very unique, as it should be, as every country should be. This will also be informative about Korean films outside of Parasite, which I was going to watch today, but we'll watch that later. This movie is a stunner. I saw it long before I saw Parasite. So I thought, this is one that people should really watch to get into it, to get into more Korean cinema. And what this is going to do is going to show you the range of emotions that happen in a Korean movie. The title, Masquerade, just in case you got lost somehow in the last 45 seconds. Okay. I had a point, but I'm going to stop for a second. That's the real king. No one's been hired yet. The actor is Lee Byung-hun. Amazing actor, such range. In this particular film, where he won Best Actor of all the awards back then, in the South Korean Awards. He did bad guys, good guys, but in this case, he plays a very flawed individual and also a double. But he pulls it off with amazing dexterity. Speaking of amazing, that's Shim Eun-kyung. She's an official food taster at this moment. Look up the movie Miss Granny, Granny. It's a South Korean comedy. It's a Korean comedy from about 2014. It stars her. You'll love it. You'll love it. You'll love her. She's an amazing actress. And that man, Ryu Seong-ryong. Not him. Oh, that's I just saw the eunuch. You'll see. No, the chief counselor. Ryu Seong-ryong. He stars in the Netflix TV series Kingdom, which just started season 2. He also starred in the two biggest South Korean box office blockbusters ever: Extreme Job and Miracle in Cell 7. Extreme Job I'm going to watch again very soon and do this again. So, in case you've been listening to me and I've ruined the plot for you, the food taster was afraid to taste the food because the spoon turned black, so the king thinks someone's trying to poison him or trying to kill him. Which is why he's looking for a double. Make sure you have the subtitles on for the movie. Oh. Yeah. I hit pause for some reason. Remember the king's and the chief counselor's demeanor at the beginning of this film, especially, and Shim Eun-kyung, the food taster. There we go. The chamber. The pomp and circumstance, and look at the hats. I told you about the hats, and they got a head here, but not like that. And so the king thinks that there's a conspiracy to kill him. In the Joseon Dynasty movies and television shows like Kingdom, I've seen they do this every day. It's almost parliamentary. Although they're very, very, subservient, they get to tell the king what they really think. And those are the scholars and people on the outside, the ones that are bowing on the outside. And from what I can gather, and like I said, I'm still ignorant on this stuff, but whatever the council says in the chamber, the people outside say almost like call and response. So he thinks there's a conspiracy, and he thinks he knows who is the head of the conspiracy, or at least he's been told that, in case you missed that. So the king is off to take care of that matter. Oh, gallon water time. You can probably hear it through my headphones. I'll try to tune it down a little bit. I'm going to pause the film for a second. I'm going to call my producer. Laurel? Can you still see me? Can you still see me? Am I still... Okay, but let it continue. Give it another 30 seconds. Okay. So this is so much fun. I can see why. I was shaking my head at that Biden virtual town hall, thinking, man, doesn't he have the staff to get that stuff together and fix it? It's got to be easy. I mean, I can do it in my own house. And here I am, and the streams are just like all over the place. So, hey, at the same time, they shouldn't be as inept as me at making Biden. They whoever was in charge of that did him no favors. But this is not about politics. I'm waiting to see if I'm still streaming, actually, so I can go ahead and continue with the film. I just paused, and the place we paused is the queen, the wife, is going to come and talk to him. And Laurel? And you're watching me? What did I just say?
Something about Biden.
Okay, excellent. So I'm still streaming, so okay. Great. Something about Biden. Yes, I'm off of that subject now. Like a bad habit. Man. Okay. Minute TV studio. Can you believe that? All right, so the queen is going to go talk to the king right now. It's the queen's brother that they believe is starting the treason, although the king is not necessarily on board. All right, now we are going to cut to who will soon be the double. Just mark the change in tone and color and style. You also get to see his bodiness and actually how good he is as a performer. Give me with a jug of water. Oh, here comes. I love the dance. I mean, see what an actor he is with that range? I mean, he's playing the fool, basically, here, and then the king. And then he's got to play a combination of both later. What happened? There we go. Sorry. Yep. Courtesans. And of course, he's pretending to be the king, which in actuality could get him killed. As that scene when the guy just pulled his sword just showed you. That's one of the king's royal guards. And they're watching the fool because they need someone to play a double. And obviously the king's guard is very upset at people making fun of the king, his lord and boss. This is a perfect example of the scene of seriousness and absolute slapstick in the same thing, in the same scene. I mean, he thinks he's going to die. I mean, I would too. Because it's about, this is high birth, low birth. But, this man is like the top movie star and TV star in Korea right now. Not Lee Byung-hun, the one talking. Him. Having a top TV show while having the top 2 grossing South Korean box office hits. Quite impressive. And he's an impressive actor because he's another guy that plays, most He just hit his head. There we go. This is the point of the mixing slapstick and drama, and they do it in their own way, and it really flows. It really flows. I realized I started talking. I can't have an endless monologue for this. We come upon the meeting of the doubles, the only time in the movie where there are two of them. So here you go. So he's resisting because he's been asked to do things he was told not to do by the chief counselor. Yeah. Oh, that's the eunuch. Oh, I got a lot to say about him, and not what you think either. I can't imagine what it must have felt like to be someone like that standing or kneeling in front of the king, and the king is touching you. I don't know. I'd probably throw up or something with fear. Now comes the test to see if he's good. The Korean language, as I'm learning, is endlessly interesting to learn, because I spoke to someone online about the subtitles for this very film, and he said, "Hey, they're good, but they don't capture all of the nuance because they're speaking hundreds of years ago, so the dialect, of course, was different." And so there's like phrasings and stuff. Sort of like, probably be like Shakespeare, I guess, to use a good comparison. We can understand it, but goodness, so. But some things are still the same from back then to now. Like tea, cha. Cha is also a car. So if you ask your mother or father for Christmas for a cha, don't be surprised if you end up with a cup of tea. Or just weird looks because you're asking for a present in Korean. And now this is clearly the double. And love they show the vastness of just the quarters of his quarters, just big and dark and long, and he hasn't even learned to sit, quote unquote, properly. He's I would, if you have the stomach for it, watch this dark thriller called I Saw the Devil, which he plays a cop in. And he's stunning, and the movie is pretty wild. But like I said, if you have the stomach for it, Korean films sometimes have very dark and violent movies. This is not one of them. It's violence. Oh, now he's practicing to himself, or he thinks to himself anyway. So that's when the woman overhears him. It kind of shows it's like, wow. He thought, Tom Tandy goes, wow, I got power, but also everyone's listening, even to the smallest thing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, flatulence is a very big thing in South Korea for comedy. I just jumped because he saw the eunuch who's been standing there the whole time. I just have to cool off my computer. Let's hope it goes okay. There we go. The eunuch is the most important character in the movie, as you will come to find out. Concubines. That's where he's at. He's sleeping at a concubine's house as opposed to his own chambers. I mean, you would think that, oh, it's easy. Just play a little goofy on one side and a little real serious on the other. But there's much more detail and nuance to his performance between the two characters, which are both himself. It's what raises the film above the level of like, oh, that was great, to stunner. When I started watching Korean films, I still marveled at the fact that they slept on the floor. Like, even like today, I saw a movie called The Wailing, and it took place in the country, but they're sleeping on the floor with a blanket or a padded blanket or something. And ignorant as I am, I'm like, wow, I didn't know they did do that, but that's what they do. Their backs must either be like really bad or like amazing, because to be able to sleep like that. Now, this relationship is clearly, how many times have I said clearly? This relationship is the most rewarding and satisfying of all of them, because they got a long way to go to even. He just paid him. He just paid the double. But he has such disdain for him, and also threatens him with death. And of course, and back then, when you were talking to people of higher stature, you did not step out of line. But when you think about it, this guy is doing them a favor. However, they don't consider it a favor. Like, you have to do it. I'm paying you, but you're my servant, so you have to do what I tell you. Love those hats. Look at that veiled hat. Maybe I should get one of those hats. Anybody have one of those hats? I'm not paying attention to the twos of people that may be watching with me. Okay, now he's getting lashes by the local magistrate for doing that pantomime in the courtesan's house. Someone snitched. I'm listening to him counting, and those numbers are different than what I'm learning right now. But as I understand it, there are two different versions of counting. I think one is for money and ages, and the other one's for most other things. So, oh yeah. So if you're new to this, you can think about the structure of the Korean language. And I'm a beginner, but when you hear the ends of the sentences, those are usually the verbs or the conjugation of the verbs. And the information in the verbs is in the sentences is in the middle. So if you say, I went to the store, you say, I store went. That's a very simplistic way. This is a sad scene that anyway, if you can see it, you see what I'm talking about. It's a very important scene, though, in that you see the empathy and the compassion that he has, that he's going to need by the end of the film. And maybe you've seen this, maybe you won't, but spoiler, it ends. So now they figured out that the king was not being poisoned. It was just a different kind of salt. Oh, bamboo salt. Gunshot, you'll see it. That's why I jump. Ryu Seong-ryong was a surprise to me in terms of people like, Lee Byung-hun. Look at him. He's got the got that classic leading man look, or Hwang Eun-min, Ha Jung-woo, all these guys. But Ryu Seong-ryong is the guy. And I'm not saying he just doesn't have the the Brad Pitt kind of look. And I think that's great because they do not care. It's like, hey, if you're good, if you're funny, if you deliver, we'll follow you. This is a discussion about the conspiracy, and the king really doesn't want to mess with his brother-in-law at all. He doesn't believe, in fact, that the brother-in-law is the head of the conspiracy, just in case you missed it. Because now the doctor has called for the chief counselor to go to the quarters of the king. The lighting is so subtly beautiful, how the light bounces off of things and the lamps and the... Just watch, you'll see. Just watch. But I have to talk a little bit, But, so, yeah, the chief counselor's sitting down and looking at the king right now. So, yeah, he's been poisoned. But watch what the doctor says. I can't confirm anything, but we might have to prepare for death. I'm being quiet because this is... He just said, you know better than anyone that you will not live if the king passes away. Who would want to be a doctor back then? Oh, you get to be a doctor for the king. And how long does the job last? Until the day the king dies. Oh, so you don't even... No. You die on the same day. No, thank you. So the setup. King's poisoned, so they need a double to cover. So the chief counselor says, all right, don't tell anybody, doctor, and anyone in here. We're going to bring the double in for a while. So, all right. Oh, that's... The chief guard ratted him out. Kunde is butt. I figured that out after watching 500 movies. The chief guard just kicked the guy and Kevin Doe. So the eunuch is in on it, and the doctor who's with the real king is in on it, and the chief counselor's in on it, but that's it. They're not telling anybody else. So, to make sure that the fiction stays plausible as possible. Hitting me and shit. All right. This is the hero's call and rejection of the call, as it were. Ugh. Well, I love the king's robe. The red and the gold's beautiful. I love how he doesn't even know how to tie it. He's now learning that he has to stay me the double for a little while longer. So, like I said, that's the hero's call and the rejection. Yeah, I won't do it. Rightfully so. He's like, no, no, thank you, man. I'm not doing that. Of course, more money. Don't you love it? It's like he says, you just said, I'll give you 20 silver coins after after it's over. But we all know that after it's over, he's not going to get 20 coins. He's going to get killed, like the doctor will get killed. But even money didn't necessarily let him stay. However, he it's a great moment when he comes back in because yes, he takes the money, but he actually came back in because he wants to help the people, something that kings should do, and kings sometimes do, but kings don't always do. Now, I'll talk a little bit because the relationships between the double and the chief counselor that he's here, and with the food taster, with the eunuch, and then with the queen. Those are four. Oh no, and the chief guard too. That makes five. The arcs that each of them have and how they intersect with each other. It is like I would say it's a magic trick, but it's not. It's just brilliant writing. And as a screenwriter, I'm in awe of how they were able to track all of these relationships and make them have huge changes. So, in essence, right now he's being told you can't be with any of the concubines or the queen. Right. Well, you just said, no matter what, stay away from the queen at all costs. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. The relationship with the chief eunuch is special in that the chief eunuch is basically just there to support, but but more flatulence. This is like, it's almost like it turned. It's like 6-year-old humor in the middle of this very adult film. Like this whole scene, in fact. Well, there's a lot of people rushing into the chambers to give him a flower blossom pot. I think if you're watching, you saw it, so you know what that is. This is hilarious, but I'm not going to describe it because it's better to be seen than heard. Oh man, the it's not just them; it's everyone. That's I and someone's trying to get close to him to clean him, and he's it. So they do say, "Punish me with death, Your Majesty," is in like a response instead of saying "I'm sorry," And I love the double goes like, why would I kill you? He's not from the court, so he would not understand the court etiquette. I hope that scene let you show about where I'm at in the movie. He clearly wasn't supposed to drink that water. He was supposed to wash his hands. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to turn the label on there. The music is great too. One of the interesting things I've come across with Korean movies is that sometimes the music is different than it would be. Flatulence is different than it would be for an American film of the same genre. That's just a cultural thing. But when I'm saying that in terms of like Western taste. But I like how the score is an underscore as opposed to a Spielberg circa 1988 score, which is big and brash and 300-piece orchestra, just jamming that emotion down your throat. Something very gross just happened. To check the king's health, they taste certain things that they shouldn't be tasting that came out of the rear of the, you know what I'm saying. So now this is the first heart-to-heart with the eunuch. Yep. A very roundabout way of figuring out how to sleep with the concubines. It's the first time. Like there was the eunuch showing emotion. Yes, that's the taster. Oh, and you know, he gets a lot to eat, but as you'll see in a second, there's a reason for that. I mean, you'll see, but let's just say that, you know, he still doesn't understand court etiquette at all. And I didn't the first time I saw it either. I still don't. Why would I? I'm never going to go back to that. I hope not. That'd be really weird if it brought back kings and stuff, all this nonsense going on. And by nonsense, I don't mean it's not true. I mean, it's just, you know. See? Oh, not that. But here we go. So all that food was made because the women who make it get to eat what's left over. And the king does not normally eat the entire thing. So he ate it all, and now, as it's not really not that funny, but, you know, it's the women who are made it for him especially are going to not eat today because of that. Then, of course, he goes and does the one thing he shouldn't even think about doing, which is go and see the queen, even from afar. It's oh, that's right. He didn't know the fact that it was the queen, and so now he's like, oh God, I shouldn't be seeing. Oh. Everyone, they all do what the king does. And of course he had to meet the queen. Of course it was like the one thing he shouldn't do is the one thing that he has to do. That's the beauty of movies, right? If you are told, oh, you absolutely cannot take this car out, the movie's not a movie until they take that car out. That's the whole thing. And but the queen is a subplot, not the main plot. But every plot could be its own movie. Really makes it so full. This is the kind of the second act part of the movie where like he's learning how to become a fake king. But he's still the chief counselor is still just like oh he is. They're both great at comedic and dramatic acting, but comedic acting in particular. Check out The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. That stars Lee Byung-hun and Song Kang-ho, who is next to Hwang Young-min up at the top for actors for me in South Korea. Okay, now he's practicing just for the eunuch and the chief counselor. And this is an important scene for how it ends. Like the beginning of the scene was really when they were in the chambers and he was like, "Wretch, you must do this." So now that he's showing him the layout and their temperaments, he's going to have to pretend to be the king in a almost like a dress rehearsal kind of environment. I don't know why I keep leaning in. I'm sure I can be heard. I hope so anyway. See, the court really want this conspirator dead, even though it's not what they think it is. This is a funny part because guy has to be referred to like a servant now. Court has eyes and ears everywhere. It's true. As we saw earlier, he was like mumbling and there was a woman out of nowhere. "What do you need?" Oh. Nope. So this is great, right? He just started it. Right? So he's still very, like, almost angry. Because I understand that, their dynasty's at stake. I'll one moment. This is a scene that is in all kinds of movies. But when it's done right, as it is here, it's pretty thrilling. Like, it's that moment where they're like, whoa, maybe we got something here. Like, this scene is vital because it changed the minds of the chief counselor and the eunuch, if ever so slightly. But that kind of structure is in a lot of movies. But this movie, and South Korea does it quite well in most films. They got it down, and they got it down in their own like unique way. Production design is. I did a video like last year about this, or at least the first 2/3 of it. Sometimes I have too many ideas. And so I spend all kinds of time editing and re-recording and doing. And so I decided that the best way to do this, to share this, is to do this the way I'm doing it here. I'll be making videos, but I'm an impatient person with too many ideas. So if I live stream, it's out there for people to see. And whatever will be, to use a very cliche rhyme. All right. He is heading to the court where this is his first performance in front of everyone as the king, which, of course, he is not. Not yet, anyway. When he walks in, I mean, just imagine seeing that. Like, I would freak out. Now, hopefully that will also get you synced to where I'm at in the movie, so we're close. Because maybe someone will watch this after it's all done and they can still keep up. So, yeah, here we go. Here he's going to try to do his thing. All right, here we go. The royal decree. He's opening it up. The call and response. Of course, when he opens it, it's almost like they pulled a prank on him, giving him the blank decree. So he... Of course, isn't a good thing because it makes the suspicious. It's like, but now that I think of it, it's like, I wonder whose head got cut off because of this. Oh, I'm checking the levels so people aren't hearing this. So he couldn't show his prowess because of a mistake. So it does two things. It adds for the comedy. It adds for a failure for the first time, and it also adds for the palace intrigue, because, as he said, there's eyes and ears everywhere. So any sign of weakness or anything like that will end up in a lot of people getting hurt. Have you seen Kingdom on Netflix? It's like this, but with zombies. It's wonderful. The second season just came out, and the seasons are like 5 or 6 episodes apiece. So get going. Not yet, though. Don't leave now. Watch this one. This is a vital scene here. Here he's eating again. So now he knows. But this, that what he just ate right there, it's red bean porridge, as it says. But that's very, very important. It was made by the taster who had the bowl thrown at her by the king in the beginning of the film. It's just going to make sure my fans aren't going... Yeah, total show. 15. Right. He learned his lesson, and he just ate the red porridge and left everything for the servants, not his servants, the servants. And that's yet another thing that the eunuch notices, and you can tell he doesn't speak very much. Clearly, not say clearly. How many times am I going to say that? He doesn't speak very much, but it's his actions and face and just his demeanor that is so powerful. Now they're gossiping, but they're very happy. Clearly, there it is again. I don't like saying things like that because it's like saying in a movie, as you know. Well, if you know, you don't need to say it, do you? If everybody in that room, like you're in a police briefing, and they start, as you all know, no need to talk then, there is there. But they say it. And then you have like friends that go, hey man, how long have we been friends again? And if somebody asked that of me, I'd be like, I think we need to go see a doctor. But they said, hey, remember that time that we did this, and this? Oh, yeah, I remember. It was just you and me in the middle of nowhere. Well, yes, that would mean that they would both remember it. So why would they talk about it? So saying clearly is a wasted word, a waste of a word for me, actually, just speaking honestly. So this is another plot which really is not part of the double saying it, other than the chief counselor wants to find out who poisoned the king and who's like plotting. It's funny, like you would think in most films, the writers usually try to make having lots of women as a complication. This is the exact opposite. Like, I can't be with any women. Yeah, this is the palace intrigue. So we've had serious drama, slapstick comedy, and then scatological humor, and now palace intrigue. Sodom. Sodom is people. Sodom? Yes, he just said we've got to get rid of all the evidence. And the evidence is this place right here, where there's the poison grows. So now the audience is aware of who the bad guy is, but not the characters. So that's it's information that we had that make us go, oh no, when the characters still have no idea. I love it, like when you're informed, and the character's like, huh? But now the chief counselor did figure it out, but they have no evidence because, as you can see, they burned it all down. Oh, the smarminess. That seal was actually in Parasite for official documents. They use that seal. Of course, they don't stamp electronic papers with a giant metal thing. No, they've kind of made a thing that looks like it. So poor guy is, with these bills, he's done exactly the opposite of what he should do. Our hero is taking a greater interest in how the palace works. And this is why the eunuch's important. Chegel books. This is a sweet scene. I'll be quiet. I mean, it's sweet, but that. Yeah, that's that moment when he's a realization that he's talking about himself. Like he's not interested in the story of what happened with this poor man. He's interested in like, hey, what do you do when you have to go to the restroom standing up? And of course, then he whispers the answer, so we don't know. We'll never know. We're like, damn, why can't we hear the whisper? But imagine a king like doing that, going, "Oh, hey, buddy, hey, ballless buddy, it's okay." Ah, got to keep that body limber. You know, Lee Byung-hun, when I saw this and saw his other films, I'm like, why isn't America bringing him over and doing films? And it turns out they did, but as Korean man in action film number 5 and Korean film in G.I. Joe action film number 7, and he was also in the Magnificent Seven. I believe he was number 7. And so then I thought, why would he want to? I mean, why would he want to come to America? Why? I don't see why. Look at the parts he gets to play. Look at the parts they all get to play. I mean, with the way our system is here in America, it's always like you're typecasting. And it's not as if there's not typecasting in South Korea either, but it's I see that the leads, the top, the A-listers, they've played bad guys, good guys, flawed guys, wacky guys, very serious guys, and women too. Son Ye-jin and Jean Do-yeon. Jean Do-yeon. I'm probably messing these names up, but and Shim Eun-kyung. Those are fighting. They can do it. They can, and they can. They do it. That was a beautiful scene with him. When you get to hear the food taster story. See? So I'll try to be quiet as much as I can. But her story is, and just watch. He got very vocal about how angry he was. Mm. One thing I forgot about is the other component, which is it's a very emotional film. And he just basically said, I'm going to find your mom, which a king would never ever do, but he's doing for her, as he, I'm sure, wants to do for the whole country. This is great. This is so vital for today. Class warfare, just like Parasite. But this is about taxing the poor. And oh, you can't tax it too quickly because the landowners are going to get hurt. Yeah, the tax is rice and food. Now he's brought a prisoner into the. Yeah, bring in one of the corrupt to say, hey, you dealing with you've dealt with these corrupt people? Usury, lending money, or interest, or you know what? Forget I said anything. I'm not. But this is another major turning point in that he took this upon himself to do it. I know the eunuch gave him the chance to do it, told him how he could do it, but he did it. See, the music swelled there, but not to the point that it overwhelmed, and now it pulled back at the right time. It was like in the rhythm of the language, not in the rhythm of I'm manipulating your emotions. I'm all for manipulating emotions. Movies are all about manipulation. But sometimes they have to. Music as an additive can make it sweeten a film wonderfully. Soundtracks are great, but it has to be an enhancement. It can't save like a movie. If there's no emotion in the scene, you can't pipe it in with music. I mean, you can, and people have tried, but people don't talk about those films anymore. People talk about films that were memorable because of the dialogue, the characters, the story, and he just tried to hit the king in front of the eunuch, which of course they're not supposed to do because they're pretending that the power dynamic is different. This getting into place like that. That's going to be a recurring comedic theme. See, they keep they're serious, right? Like this with the the Inquisition or the prisoner. But there was funny stuff just right before it. It's sort of like it allows you to really take in the darkness when they give you really a chance to laugh. And now here's the he avoided the queen, but the queen just running into the room as she has every right to do. Knife is. She tried to do something to herself with an instrument, and the king, the double, he took it from her. And he didn't give it back, but that'll come later. It's important later. Oh, in case you missed it, her robe was open, and he looked over and accidentally saw a mark on her chest, which is very, very important. It's these setups and payoffs that sometimes people don't see, like the first time or second time through. That's what makes a film great and even greater and greater, because you find new things in it. And this is the Inquisition scene. I turned my headphones down so I don't have to hear it as much. I mean, look, everything's okay now. See, he's not okay, but what I mean is, it's not going to be some sustainable thing. But this scene, that's the brother that I just showed you with the double. Yeah, he gets the. Yes. So this man is wanting the king that the double can be. But he's not a conspirator. He's not treasonous. He's talking about the corrupt idiots around him, which is that's one thing that's unfortunately lasted forever. That's a very familiar refrain. Punish me with death. This film could have easily fallen into the too melodramatic category, but with the top shelf actors they have, there was no way that was going to happen. They knew how to navigate this material perfectly, especially Lee Byung-hun. I mean, I know like a million things have to go right for a film to be pretty decent, and a billion things have to go right for a film to be a masterpiece, and like a billion things that went right in this movie. It's just one of the things where it just all came together. A movie that, if you looked at its pieces, you would think, it's just some sort of melodramatic period piece. But the more you watch it, and if you want to watch it 20 times or more, please do so. I won't be there every time. I've already seen it that many times. But I just like him and the eunuch. I get caught up in this story. Now he's trying to find a way to ditch his chief guard because he wants to be alone. But it's against the law, as it says. Uh-oh. It's a gorgeous palace. I am so looking forward to... He just kicked off his shoe. I'm so looking forward to going and exploring these places. I'm usually not an explorer, but this is one place I want to explore. And now the queen's hearing all this stuff about, hey, man, this guy's like lightened up. He's laughing. He's chilling out. He's just chilling. It's almost like the scene is like they're courting for the first time, which for him he is. Although it's a very chaste relationship. In thus far. There's nothing worse than pulling a joke that falls flat. I'm like, hey, man, I'm the king. You're not going to laugh at my jokes? And now he's just touching the... This is... Like, it's a huge deal. But it's... You'll learn that like by watching more stuff and, of course, reading more stuff. I've been watching more documentaries these days because I don't want to be the kind of guy like everything I learned in the movies, because if that were the case, then, just like here, the cops would be inept and everyone's evil and everyone's really good and they can do like defy gravity with all their fighting and, it's just... Now, in this era, a man who's like saying, hey, I just want to see you smile, sounds like it's like a third rail thing to say, kind of. But it's, he just legitimately wants to make people happy, which is clear in the beginning in the concubine scene. And I was talking about this with my girlfriend yesterday about how I was watching a documentary about something, and it was just a crowd following around a few people in South Korea, and some of the women would laugh and they would cover their mouths, and what happened right there was she got self-conscious because he was looking right at her as she was attempting to smile, which was great. If you have a chance to go back and look at it, her slowly coming up like, and all for a boot. Oh, but man, look at this, right? So, because of the boot that he kicked off, he was able to get down and put the boot on. And because he was able to put the boot on, he was able to see the guy's hand, which leads to this scene. See, one thing leads to another. Like, not this happens and then this happens and then this happens. It's this happens because this happens. So even though the chief guard is suspecting, they're still going to keep him in the dark. Okay. Everything's so colorful. This, I'll bring it back. This is the food taster bringing the red bean porridge. Like the queen. So the king is, as a gesture of his affection, brings the red bean porridge to his wife, for all intents and purposes. And I love how she actually smiles. The queen smiles because the food taster is like, I have to stay here until you finish eating the red bean porridge. Which is actually a very subtle way of showing it's not goofiness that gets to her, it's sweetness that gets to the queen. He was goofy and she's like, but he shows kindness and she smiles at that. Very important. It's important in life is what I mean to say. It's not very important for the movie. He keeps interfering, but in the right way. But he thinks the king is, see that? The king can't act solely upon his will. I didn't know that either. You would think I'm the king. If I say it is, it is. But, here we go. As I said earlier, they did it, but they're in the wrong. So then they have to go back. I just love that little extra, we changed when we shouldn't have. See, it's one of those things that's considered a trope, but when done flawlessly and in some sort of unique way, in a way, it's hilarious. That's right. He wants he's making the chief secretary eat something, and the chief secretary can't refuse because it's the king, even though it's not the king. So you say he just said your grace is immeasurable, and that was his way of saying thank you, sir, but no. That didn't work clearly because he's eating the toffee. I don't even know why he doesn't want to eat it. Or suck it, as he says. I mean, it's candy. I mean, how often do you get candy back then? Cinnamon toffee sounds really good, actually. And it was, probably the purest cinnamon and the greatest toffee in the world. All no fake organic ingredients. Oh, yeah, cinnamon toffee with vitamin E acetate. That's what happened to the Joseon dynasty. So now he's like, oh, come on, Chief Taster, tell me what the queen said. Like that. Those are just little peaks to keep you on track. As close as possible. Because you may not be watching this on Prime or... Of course, the chief guard is still not on his side, on the double side, because he's being left out of the ruse. The food taster and the chief guard are left out of the ruse. He's practicing a love poem to read to the queen. It's befitting the laws of the court. It's sort of like yes, that is a document that can be read. Oh. The eunuch pouring cold water on him. I'd say he was cock blocking him, but I don't know if he has one. Dried persimmons. I mean, what a time, right? Wouldn't it be great if like dried persimmons were like what our kids were like? Oh my god, yeah! And there's commercials for dried persimmons, and that's all that is. It's just we take these persimmons, we dry them, and they're delicious. Or red bean porridge. It was just, I mean, everyone's palate, of course, is very, very different. The way the way they were raised and where we come up. That's why travel is so important. I wish more travel were going on right now, but of course we all know why that's not happening. But travel is so important because you can get a sense of people's culture through television and sometimes movies and sometimes their food and whatever. But you really have to go to the country itself to. Oh, yes. This is the chief guard who now realizes that the king's an imposter. But unfortunately, the guard thinks that he's going to capture an imposter that no one knows is an imposter. So when I was in Korea, and I was only in Korea for a couple of weeks back in the 90s, and the smells and the sounds were very different. Of course, it was a much different country then too. In fact, they did a movie called Default, which is on Prime. I'm not getting paid for this. Who would pay me for this? So Default, they almost went bankrupt. I mean, the Korean people from the Japanese occupation till now. I mean, Japanese occupation and then World War II and then the Korean War, and then they were just in tatters, almost bankrupt. And now the last I checked was the 11th largest economy in the world. And Samsung, Hyundai, those are very big reasons. But they're also such a resilient people. I mean, they went through a lot. A lot of people went through a lot of things. I understand. But my focus is on Korea, and the more I see from that period of Japanese occupation and comfort women, and just the horrors that they face, the fact that they are still have a strong national pride. I mean, even with their issues with the North, the guard obviously didn't like the poem. See, the birthmark on the body that he accidentally saw. That's his out for this, and they just showed the clip of. So, what that tells you is the queen knows that he's an imposter, because she chose the one thing and the only thing that he would know. The king, of course, stopped him from cutting his throat with it. And then he falls into the river. See, it's just like it turns a serious scene into a funny scene. And so you're not mired in the, it feels like a long time ago. And you're just like, this is kind of long. And no, they put moments of levity. And look, so the king gives the taster something, and it's that. It's a red bean porridge. Red bean porridge is given as a symbol of love, because the food taster gave it to the king, the double with love, and then the king gave it to the queen as a symbol of love, and now the king gave the guard his red bean porridge out of love, which is why it's a precursor to him doing what he's about to do. This is when he lets him. Don't you understand how important your life is? That is something that needs to be reiterated. Everyone's life is important, and we have to take care of those who feel that their life isn't important. Because despair and desperation is not something you should live with. There are ways to realize that that's not true what you're thinking. I mean, I went through those very feelings, and I am privileged to have a group of amazing friends and a girlfriend who is. Everyone will wish they could have her as a girlfriend, but sorry, she's not. Not have is a bad word. Believe me, she is her own person, and she has the patience of Job. Oh. The chief guard is so happy that he bursts into tears. It's both touching and funny. And also because the chief guard is like, this shouldn't have happened. I should be dead. Oh. King's awake. But he has the food taster on his side. He's got the chief guard on his side. He's got the chief eunuch on his side. By he, I mean the double. And now they're... What is that? So now he's telling about the poison. So they got the court lady, Pak Chung-so. The king knew. See, the king may be vicious or whatever, but he's very, 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 very smart. It's almost like, he knew what was going on, but he couldn't prove it. But this is sad. And the king says, let's take care of the double first. And by take care, that's the Pulp Fiction take care. Meaning the opposite of, told me to take her out. Take her out? No, take her out. It's a Pulp Fiction reference from 26 years ago. What am I going to do? You can't spare the lowly thing that sat on the throne. The lowly thing. That's the... But you should know the real king hasn't taken the throne yet. This is still the double right here. They're trying to get him to turn on the queen. Oh. Stretch on my neck. Okay. And of course, there's the call, response, and response. And they're only doing what their superiors are tell them to do. So you think that he's actually going to go do what they want, but he's not gonna. Look at that. Oh, they're getting in front of him like they'll have to, like, you'll have to walk over us. Tread on our backs if you must. And this is a very heavily researched piece. I know that a lot of this is very, very accurate. Of course, it's a movie, so they could take liberties. Not everything looked this gorgeous all the time there. Probably. It was pretty close because, that's where all the money went. But, the scene, that look between the two of them and what he decides. He decides, yep, I'm not going to listen to them. I'm actually going to tread on their backs because I know that this is the right thing to do. This is a very nice scene, but I also want to tell you something about Korean films is that you should expect the unexpected, which is why I love them so, so much. That means that anyone at any time could die, be killed, a major twist, the darkest thing you could imagine. It could have the most dark ending and depressing ending, but when it's in the context of an entire film, it's how it works. I'm not saying that's how this film is, but I am saying expect the unexpected from here on out to a certain degree. I mean, because he just grabbed the queen's hand and he's off and running. Some water. I think maybe I will get it. No, you know what? This mug is fine. Mug. I called it a mug around. I said it's my medium mug because this is basically what is considered medium. Probably when you go to the movie theater, this is a medium. When I said I got a free small soda on my membership card, and they go, "You want to upgrade?" And I was like, no. And I got the small, and the small was as big as our big gulps when I was growing up in California in the 80s. I'm like, that's small? Let me tell you something. That's going to have to start. That's what needs to start changing. Like sizes and calories and things. That is a big problem that we're going to have to face somehow. And don't ask me any more questions about it because I don't know how to solve the problem. I mean, I can solve it myself, but I remember when, the mayor tried to ban sugary drinks, which was a disaster because you telling people what not to drink is going to make them drink it more. And there were some exceptions, which meant that there was still plenty of sugary drinks in New York City. So what was the point of the law? You've got to find some other way to deal with it. Yeah, I went off on a tangent. It happens. But he's there to protect the queen. He wants the queen to be by his side, too. Oh. Oh. Now the bad guys know there are two kings. Unlike Two Princes, which is the Spin Doctor song, which I have been known to sing at karaoke, just adding a bit of color commentary there. So yeah, the bad guys think they got it, and then we'll get them, like, springing a trap. I'm looking at a note I wrote. It says, graffiti on the walls, beware. The circus is back in town. And in parentheses, Korean. Sad thing is, I know exactly what that note means. I thought I didn't, but then I knew immediately what it meant. And so now they figured out who the imposter is. So now comes the, how do we get out of this? Or how do I, are the bad guys going to get the upper hand? The scar on his chest has appeared. That's so the queen is, although the queen did help, I don't think she knew for sure that he was a complete fake. Maybe she thought that he was, he saw the red mark, but it was sort of like, looking at his wife, like, like trying to sneak a peek kind of thing. But, so now she's going to find out for sure. Of course, she's telling him to get in bed because she wants to, which of course he's told not to do, but she's doing it because of the scar issue. So, as you can see, there's no scar, and I'm showing it for purposes to keep syncing, but it's also a very important visual cue. Visual cues are huge in this, with the red bean porridge, the way the swords are drawn from the beginning to the end with the chief guard. It's just beautiful visual storytelling. So, of course, the queen isn't really happy, but I think she wants to know the truth more than being unhappy. And see, the queen knows when she goes, "You're not going to live if you stick around. You better get out of here." His body's going to be thrown in a river and forgotten. So, right, now the cat's out of the bag with most of the people in some form or another. Although the chief guard still thinks definitely that he is the real king and that he is like his new best friend. But the eunuch, I said that it was a very important character, and he is, because he has a quiet strength. I mean, if you look at it now, like, I don't remember how many lines he has. It's not many at all. But he has this, like I said, he has his demeanor and sometimes his little smile, or just a word or two. He's the guy that pushes who should be the real king in the right direction, or gives him a little nudge and says, let's see what you can do. So, now the devil's been informed of everything. And of course, he's not denying it. You should have run. Why did you come back? And it's a speech. It's a promise he made, as you can see, hopefully. He hands him the money, or tosses him the money. So it was money that he probably was never going to get. Oh, wow. I ask you if my life is worth less than a chicken. That's how much those silver coins would have cost. But he's actually saying, look, I'm trying to protect you. Get out of here. So he's got to do one more thing before he goes. Got to give the decrees. Sawol. Sawol is that's her. The taster. He promised that he would find her mother. And so that's what he told the chief guard. And so the chief guard will do it. And then he gives Sawol the money. So the thing that was supposedly the main motivating factor was something that he just wanted nothing to do with at the end. Because he cares about this girl and the people. I mean, that's why he said he came back. He was, helping it's good for the good of the country, is for the good of the people. And sometimes there's a distinction, and but sometimes really there shouldn't be, because we make up our own country, so it is the people that matter, not America as a concept, but the Americans of whatever creed, race, color, whatever you are. It's about how we're treated as a people from coast to coast. And now she's Sawol is being told to poison the king. He says that the woman says, "You got to do it, or we'll both die." She basically said, "Slip it, the cinnamon sweet, which is filled with poison, into the red bean porridge, his favorite." And because she's the food taster, that's how she'll do it, because she could taste the food, say it's fine, and then slip it in. That's what the deal is. See, I thought if it did, I could make you smile. I don't know if that's a translation. I'm not nowhere near where I need to be on Korean. But there might be a different word than just smile, because it's not about, oh, just smile, hey. It's about smiling inside. Like lightening your heart, lightening your burden. But that would sound weird. I'm looking at it as a subtitle. Now, that was the instrument that she was going to use to hurt herself. And he's giving it back to her at the end. This is like the end of their arc. And it started with them being completely separately, and they went through all kinds of emotions. And what's important about him giving the thing back is what's coming up here in a second. I'll show it because it's brief. She looks down at it and took away the sharp, took it away, make sure that she would never even think about trying it. And the look on her face is like a look of, he did lighten her load doing that. So now he's going through the motions as the fake king for one more day. Are they dragonfly wings? It looks like dragonfly wings. Maybe not. And some of these aren't these are like the least crazy hats. And I say crazy, I mean wild, I mean cool, I mean wow. People wore that. This is what they wore. Everything had, I'm sure they must have had meaning, or there must have been a reason why they were there, or their fashion runway show in the 1300s or 1400s was a big hit. This is the what I would say the Lee Byung-hun Oscar scene. But deservedly so. He didn't win an Oscar. He won the South Korean Oscar, among other things. I mean, this film won a lot of awards around the world. I wish I could. I mean, I'll watch this with. Let's watch this in silence. He silenced him. He's basically doing the revolutionary thing while he can. See, the music swelled right there, but then it pulled back. It didn't give a big finish. And it allows the wonderful acting work of Lee Byung-hun to come through. This is where the food taster is supposed to poison the king. And so they're waiting, he's waiting for it because he loves the red bean porridge. He's like, what's going on? And then he reaches for it right away. And of course, that reaction, right? So he takes a bite. She looks like that. That means, the poison's been eaten. And he's still praising how great it tastes. This is. Did I keep it on for too long? Maybe I don't know. But this scene is. What's wrong, Sewol? She committed suicide to protect a man who's not even the king, but she doesn't know that he's not the king. And now he's rushing her to the doctor to try to save her. She literally poisoned herself to protect the king. And the reason this is very emotional too is because she never got to find out if her mother was alive or dead. He didn't get to keep his promise. Yes, this is graphic, but it's this is this is what I meant when I said expect the unexpected. I'm the king. I'm the king. That's it. But he doesn't get the answers he seeks, and it's like I almost can't watch it because it's so emotionally powerful. I mean, the raw naked emotions, and the spectrum of rage and kindness and fear and anger just are flowing. You can just see it like fly across his face, like real fast. Like I don't, like things change. Like I'm thinking, and just. Then it's revealed who gave the food taster the poison. She said, "Punish me with death too." That's one I would take her up on. I mean, he is like large and in charge now. Yeah, their methods in enhanced interrogation techniques. So now the bad guys are like, all right, it's time for us to move in, which is what the real king feared, was that they would be able to attack. It's all about that scar from an arrow, right? That's what it says. And the scar was shown when the queen opened up his shirt and saw that he didn't have it. It was for the queen, but really for the audience, so we can see the smooth chest, and you'll see the contrast coming up. Spoiler alert. So now they have confirmation. It's not the king. This scene makes the movie, and it also begins a sequence that Koreans like to do, which is messing with time. Everyone does it, but it seems that Korean films, they do it more. And it works. Basically, they're just like hiding things for you for a little while longer so they can make you feel one thing, and then when they go back, you're like, oh man, I can't believe I felt that way. This is... Oh, sorry. The man who hated the double is now saying, I can make you a real king. Because he wants to find out who killed Sawal. If that's the king you wish to be, I shall make it happen. That's quite a change from the beginning, when he thought he was just a wretch and lower than low. When he first saw him, he let the guy get hit on the head twice, smacked on the head with a bag over his head, and he did nothing. But now he's like, hey, if you want me to kill the real king so you can become king, I'll do it. That is what you call a journey, my friends. That is, I mean, his journey, that is when you have so far to go, and then you make it that far, everyone is like, oh. And he just said, the double said, I want to be king. So yes, I think Extreme Job will be the next film I'm going to do sometime next day or so when I have time. As I said, I'm learning how to do this, so I'll learn how to be a bit more, less talking in other places and more talking in other places. I also have another channel where I just do talk about anything, and it's called Pink Hat Rant, and I will be watching the debates tonight on that and commenting. But that's just me hanging out, making jokes, cracking jokes. If you want to hang around, that's great. I just like to do it because I like to talk, and my girlfriend needs a break from all my eternal monologues. See, and this is the moment where the eunuch really comes a long way too. He's quiet, but now the eunuch's on his knees begging, go, go, go. That shows you the power that he had, the changes that they all made, but it all comes from the Byung-hun. Yeah, and there they are getting ready to go say, we're going to go check his chest. We're going to go check his chest and see if there's got scars on it. They say he's an imposter. So the chief counselor's trying to stop it, of course. And now they're rushing into the palace and to get the traitor, the king, which they believe is not the king, which isn't the king. King is confronting his guard, or who they think is the king, or who they think isn't the king, really. I mean, that's a badass. If you can walk forward surrounded by razor-sharp swords and not worry about getting cut, you don't want to mess with the guy. If he has a scar. If not, he's an imposter. Now they're bringing people in to take the robe off of the king. Now, of course, who knows how this is going to turn out. And right now, this is another thing that's going on. These are the guys that were there to try to kill the double. But what you find out through editing and misdirection, I have to cut away for a second. Misdirection. See, the double's gone and the real king is back in place. There's the scar. So you're like, oh man, they cut some stuff out. They fooled us. And what they'll do is they'll go back and show us what had happened. Because it was quite a monumentous decision. See? This is going back in time and showing when the chief guard said, I will make you a king. But now we get to hear the rest of what Lee Byung-hun has to say, because the scene ended before with that, "I wish to be king." And then but see, this is where they left it for later. But if it means that I've been explaining something. This is a problem with me streaming. I hope I didn't get cut off now, because sometimes if you show something too long, which you should, you don't. But the king really wanted to do a lot of what the double did, but blinded by all kinds of things, he forgot who he was. So he was never disloyal to the king. He did exactly what the king wanted. He just did it with someone who was able to do it at that time. Not And that face when the king realizes what's going on in terms of, wow, I got stuff, my right hand man, he really got the thing, he really got it done, and he saved everyone except the bad guys. Yeah, the bad guys, they didn't get away with it. So at least there's a happy ending. So now we come to the chief guard, who has been told to kill him, the double, because the chief guard now knows that the man that he cried about was not the king. Yet the man who punched him in the gut for talking, who was going to kill him the second he saw him in the courtesan's house, he lets him go. Do you see how far these characters have to go and how wonderful that is? When you go on a journey, there are journeys that people don't really learn something or not, but when you can get 5 separate characters have strong arcs from beginning to end, and like they go through major changes, you got one hell of a movie. And I think it was this one, Old Boy for sure. Memories of it. Just look up Memories Bong Joon-ho. I can't say that word for some reason. The Fortress, I think. Miss Granny. A Man Called Superman. And the action comedy Veteran. Those are some of the first ones that I saw that I just fell in love with Korean films. They said you're helping an imposter. This man who was so loyal to the king is now going to fight his own people to protect a man he knows is an imposter. That fills this scene where he's fighting 6 men. It's fraught with tension and emotional and physical danger. Like you want him to escape, but you're also so sad for this man who is so outnumbered, but very skilled because he's still able to take them on. But when you have 6 people coming after you, chances are you're not going to make it. But giving up his life like that in the service of someone else. That's kind of this whole movie is like giving something up in service of something else. The double said, I'm not going to be the king because I'm not going to be the one that kills people. I'm going to live by my principles and my standards. And that's what is appealing to the chief guard, to the queen, the counselor, the eunuch, the food taster. These are all. In fact, I think it's the food taster's the only one who never knows that he wasn't the king, and I think that's why he said, "I am the king," to her before she passed away. It's because he didn't want her to think that she was being fooled. Wanted her last moments to be of, "Oh, my king is comforting me." Yeah, I fooled you a little bit because he does vanquish all of the guards. That's like a top MMA fighter fighting the next 6 top MMA fighters and beating them all. Of course, I didn't say he was going to be happy. He doesn't come out of it that well, but he does protect who he's supposed to protect. The shoe. He lost his shoe you saw earlier, and that's what this is. This is what this symbolizes: is the shoe where he found out, and the closeness that they are now. Man, this is the perfectly calibrated emotions. Music is not too overpowering, and that visual image of him just grabbing his foot as he dies is. You just wish there was more of this, like, strong arcs and emotion and power and great narrative in a lot of films today. And you know, when I have my unlimited membership and I go see films, there hasn't been too many so far that I've been like, "Oh wow, man, this is great." Nothing like this. Kind of wonder what movie theaters are going to be like for the next 3 weeks as it is, because there's going to be no new movies out. Oh, anyway, let me stop, because we're about to get to the last end of the arc. So the double makes it to the ship to get out of Dodge, to use an old reference. And look who shows up to greet him. The chief counselor. His right-hand man made the journey all the way to see him off. And now just wait until credits. I gotta say something. Counselor bowed to the devil. That is huge. He's showing him respect that he shows the king. That's how much he has changed. That's how much they've all changed. So it does have a happy ending in that our hero gets to live, and he changed his world. And everyone around him loved the fact that he changed his own world. There we go. Unfortunately, the chief secretary was executed, as well as the king later, the real king. See, the only king who taxed the rich and confronted the Ming dynasty. I mean, landowners, but they were the rich, not serfs. So there we have it. That is called Masquerade. That was, that was learning the streaming thing. That was called Masquerade. If you're finding some time to share this with your friends, to listen to a companion, that's great. If you want to watch it again, maybe some of the stuff I said will resonate more. I love sharing these movies with my friends. Know I love sharing movies and music. I mean, it's like known that when I go fly to go visit them, I got my Spotify playlist and my list of films that I need to share with them. And this is a way for me to do that to not just them, but to the person. Like I said, I don't have the I don't have the chat out. So, but I still love doing it, and I'm learning and I'm growing as it is. I'm growing as it goes. So, until next time, right? 안녕히 가세요.